It sounds good.
Hello, dissatisfied. Welcome to another amazing talk show with Jerry Lynn Fabian. Hi, Jerry Lynn. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I decided to put on my yellow glasses today because this blue light is not easy on the eyes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'm looking kind of cool and hip, don't you think?
I love it. I love them. I was saying earlier, I really love those glasses. They're fun.
My kids are convinced I am not anywhere near cool and hip, so I gotta get that whenever I can. So, well, welcome. How are you doing? Is everything good?
I'm doing okay. Slight cough. I'm doing okay though, other than that.
Yeah. Well, good. We're glad to have you here and glad to have another amazing conversation. Let's see, our conversation today is a little bit interesting. So I'm not living my story anymore. So let's I'll explain that a little bit, what my thought process was on that. Over the course of my exploration of my awakening, which probably started mostly about 6-7 years ago. I actually probably a little bit longer than that. I had lived the life that I was told I was supposed to live. Mm-hmm. And it's a great life, don't get me wrong. But I always felt this level of dissatisfaction. I always felt out of place. I never felt like I was a part of, and it actually created a lot of strife for me and a lot of discomfort. And I don't think it wasn't outright rejection. It was just this I felt disconnected from the work that I was doing, from the life that I was living, from the way I was living my life. And so I started to reconnect a little bit more when we made the decision, or I made the decision that I needed to get healthy. And so I started changing my diet and started gardening more and buying food from farmers, which in my circle was very different. And as I got more clarity in my physical body, I started to get more clarity mentally as well. Mm-hmm. And then I started this evaluation of my life, because emotionally, I not only dissatisfied isn't a deep enough word. I felt devastated. I felt this deep sense of loneliness. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to use the word depression necessarily, but I certainly was not happy about my life. Mm-hmm. And so I started looking for teachers and guidance, and went to various seminars, conferences, was listening to things, reading books, anything I could get my hands on. And it was very surface level in a lot of cases. There was a little bit of deep digging, but mostly surface level. And I happened to come across this book by Vishen Lakhani, and he talks about questioning every piece of your life. And it really set me on this path of questioning every single element of my life. It was where I lived, the job that I worked, the car that I drove, the house I lived in, the place I went to church. And you question spirituality, you question finance, you question friends, you question, where I traveled to. Why do I travel there? It really was this deconstruction. And when you go through it, you may come out of it like, okay, this in my life I really like. So you maintain that. But this in my life I like. And so you start the journey of finding what it is that feeds your soul. And eventually, the idea of connecting with my higher self and getting centered and connecting with divine purpose all blossomed out of that. Mm-hmm. But it started with this very intellectual deconstruction of, do I like the story that I'm living? And within that story, do I like maintaining the traumas that are a piece of that? Because I would tell all the traumatic stories over and over and over again, all the bad things that were done to me and all the horrible experiences I had, and maintain all of that trauma as my outs, like I put on a sweater that says, I had this terrible thing happen. I'm sorry?
That was those stories were your friends, that you were one with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was my story. I am vice president. I am, this, I am that. Those are my stories. And this person was really mean to me. And this situation was really terrible. And that's what I talked about. And I kept all of those stories alive because I felt like that was how I connected with me. Are those stories actually me? And I found that the stories aren't actually me. And by hanging on to them, I kept them alive, and I kept the emotion of that event out in the forefront. And that was really what was driving my loneliness and my frustration and my angst, is I was hanging on to all of that, like carrying around like a sack of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. Yeah.
And it's a catch-22 because on one end, you understand what you kept doing was bringing the past back into your present, because our brain does not grasp or have a concept of time. Everything is always happening now, 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 now. So every time you bring something from the past into your now, you're literally reliving it. You send those neuropeptides flashing all over your body, and your body responds like it's happening right now, right? And so on one hand, that's happening. On the other hand, there was it almost seems like it's a stage that we also go through, all right? Because you have to, the only way you can know what bliss feels like is when you've been feeling devastated for some of your life, right? If you've been feeling despair, then it causes you to really appreciate the emotions of bliss and joy. So it was almost necessary to go through that phase. And I feel like for many people, like you mentioned, pre-awakening, and I'm so careful with using the word awakening because this word has been used loosely all over the place. But that stage where, and what I consider being awakened to be, is really being awakened to who you are at a soul level. It starts off with an exploration, like you mentioned, of, why am I here? Questioning everything. And many people get stuck in that zone where it's all about the systems and the institutions, and this is right and this is wrong. And it feels a tad bit better because you're more aware of deceptions that may exist. And so because it feels better than the rut that most people have been living, they stay stuck there, right? And then all they do is they take that same old self into this new person who has more information, but it doesn't transform on a soul level. And so for me, true awakening is about becoming alive from the inside out, and to get to that point, you kind of have to go through that phase where you feel that emptiness, you feel that loneliness, you experience the perceived separation, because there's really no separation. You experience that perceived separation, and it creates a desire for more. If there's anything I would say to people out there, is don't stop at the surface knowledge, because everything, your story is pretty similar to mine. For me, it was breaking down. Well, it transferred into every area, but for me, religion was a part of my identity. And so once I started discovering that things were not actually how I perceived them to be, we were talking about, for example, the book of Numbers earlier, and there were certain conclusions that I came to from dissecting and seeing, whoa, this is not exactly how I was taught,
Right.
And of course, it created even more questions. But as I continue to delve and delve, the conclusion I came to, this thing is it's leading me to the point where the finger points right here, For some people, they get it. I actually think that the less religious somebody may have grown up, the easier it might be for them to get to the point where they realize, okay, this is who I am. This is who I came into this world to be. For me, it started with exploring the deceptions that existed. And it wasn't I didn't set out to explore deceptions, because you find more of what you're looking for. But in discovering truth, what was true for me, I was able to see that there was a lot of deception that existed in what I once held to be true. And that discovery caused me to go through that phase that you spoke about, where I'm like, who on earth am I now? Like, this label is out of the window. This other label is out. Everything was being stripped at the same time. Okay. Professionally, just everything that I once used to define me was now stripped out of the window. And now I'm like, okay, who am I now? Who am I now? And it's part of the process, and then you realize that all of those, like you said, the labels that once described you, that's all they were. Labels.
Labels.
That's exactly what they were. And I was thinking just over the weekend, who came up with these labels anyways? Who were the people who decided that we needed those things to define us? And at the end of the day, everybody else would succumb themselves to living a life dictated by some external source that said, this is how you're supposed to do things, and doing it and feeling in the process that this is not even satisfying. This is not even fulfilling. This might not even be what I really want to do, but I'm doing it because society says this is what I'm supposed to do. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's part. I see it as part of the process that leads us to the things that we really want in this life. Yeah.
An example comes to mind is I was reading a book called Quiet, which is it's about people that are labeled as introverts. And my oldest son would be labeled as an introvert. And in my perception, and the story I was given about introverts is that's a problem, because only the most dynamic people succeed in this life, in our society. And that was actually fostered originally by Dale Carnegie. And the Dale Carnegie method, and you teach salespeople to be these dynamic and funny and engaging and entertaining individuals. And that elevated the extrovert over the introvert. Whereas the book Quiet really explored the idea that introverts are very powerful people, in part because they are quiet, introspective. They make, they evaluate, they determine, they decide, and do in most cases. And so it was taking the story off of that introverts are bad or problematic or not contributing to society, based on something we were told in the 1920s that was the story of introverts. And that's just not true.
And that is really how systems are built. Somebody who has the authority, right? Somebody has the authority and they make a declaration and that's it. And all it takes is for someone to buy into that declaration. And before you know it, you have people patterning their lives after this story, this declaration as to this is how it should be. Okay, this is how we should be doing things. And I think it points back, at least for me, getting to the point where I realize that I get to declare my own story. I get to say how things work for me, and not live my life according to what someone says is supposed to be the norm.
Right.
What do I like? What do I want? And I think that separation that people experience during I'm going back to that awakening process, when I'm not living my story anymore. That separation that we experience is realizing really you strip those labels aside and you realize, oh my goodness, I'm separated from who I really am supposed to be, you
Yeah.
know? And then it begins, of course, that discovery of, I don't like how I feel right now. I want to feel better. For many people, that's all it comes down to. I don't like how I feel right now. I want to feel better.
Yeah.
That's the disparity between some people who turn to drugs and some individuals who turn to, and even when I say the word drugs, you know, even that, people just looking to feel better. Okay. So for
Yes.
some individuals, they turn to alcohol, and for others, is I feel like I'm in a maze, and so I want to get out, and so discovery might be the means to do so. Okay. And
Right.
on any whatever direction you take, people are just looking to become more of who they were really created to be, remembering who we came into this world to be, you know, even through some of the trauma that we may have experienced, just trying to make sense of, why did this happen? Who, you know, what does it say about me as a result? You know, is something wrong with me, or was this actually all part of the process to begin
Right.
with?
That
You know?
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I recognize that the deep-seated loneliness that I felt was not a loneliness for other people. It was a loneliness to know myself, which sounds super cliche, but the reality is, as I got to know myself and accept those elements of myself and then start to enhance them, then the loneliness goes aside, and I'm perfectly fine being by myself. I'm perfectly fine doing my own thing. And I also love being in the company of people who, I'm going to use the word chosen. In other words, I've chosen these individuals, maybe conscious or subconscious. It could be an energetic choosing, right? But they're individuals that are connected enough to themselves that they don't project their pain outward on others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think once you align with that, that's what naturally happens. That's what natural, because we live in a society. I think of, and I'm kind of careful when I speak about certain systems, but we live in a society that has literally fed humans' insecurities with systems. We create systems, we create rules, we create dogmas to feed our lack. And it has not helped. It has not helped. All right.
No.
So even in relationships, I'm going to use this one. This is one I'm passionate about. Even in relationships, when I have to make a rule to say, you are going to remain committed to me no matter what, okay, what do you find? A breakdown when somebody's inner being says, this does not line up with who I am. Because going back to what you said, when you start dealing with you, when you start addressing your own stuff, right, and you go inward instead of projecting everything outward, what you find is you are led to the point where you seek to find satisfaction within, rather than seeking to ensure that somebody changes to make you happy. It doesn't feel good when you start demanding that other people around you change to make you feel good. However, before you start doing that, it's easy to say, oh yeah, what you did this, you hurt me when you did this. You understand? It's easy to say, oh, you don't love me anymore because you did X, Y, Z to me, right? And once that shifts, what I find is, it's not you. You don't place that responsibility on anybody. You're more aligned with becoming who you truly are, and then you start attracting people who are at that place as well. It becomes so burdensome to be around people who project their stuff to you, who try to make you responsible for how they feel. And half the times I want to say, go find yourself. I'm not taking up responsibility for that. That's not me. That's on you, my dear. Because I'm doing my work. Go do yours. You know?
Yeah.
That's one of the things. And you know what? In the process, it might make you a little arrogant in the eyes of some. Because now
Right.
you're no longer assuming responsibility for people's issues, but
Right.
you also attract relationships feel more fluid and beautiful. Um,
Hmm.
you know, coming into contact with individuals that feed your soul seems more natural
Yes.
because because you are aligned with who you are. You're not trying to make stuff happen. It just falls into place natural. And that's in every area of your life,
Right.
you know. Which
So at the beginning of this process, I think one of the, if I were to connect the feeling that I had is I became uncomfortable with things that have just been that way. So it's this unconscious choosing based on the story we've been given. So we choose the job, we choose the house, we choose the car, we choose the school, we choose all based on what we've been given. And when we start to become uncomfortable with those choices, like, I don't really care that I live in a big fancy house. It's just too much to clean. I would much rather live in a house that, allows me to be myself.
Mhm.
I don't, my kids, this was an angsty thing for me for a while. My kids, neither one of, I was raised, you must go to college and get a good job. Lots of people are that way too. It's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but it's not for everyone.
I know.
So both my boys have, my oldest, Mr. Politically Correct, would go, yeah, Mom, I'm going to go to college. I was looking at this one. I think it'd be great. I don't know what I'm going to study yet. And he just said to me this weekend, he said, Mom, I just told you that because I didn't want you to feel upset that I really wasn't going to go to college. And so he's working with my husband and he's making his way and he's doing really well. And then my youngest is talking about going to be a lineman with AEP, and AEP requires him to take have an associate's degree. So now he's going to college. He has a purpose. He's going to do the 2 years and he will get a job that will help him be happy. Not meant to be a desk jockey. But I had to go through all this inner work to clear that story that was the only way they were going to be successful. And it probably took me quite a long time for me to get over those components of it. And now the cool part is I'm like, okay, they're going to be who they're meant to be. They will be happier in life living that way, starting out at a very young age. They don't have to get to almost 40 years old before they go, this isn't working. Right?
Yeah. And it's interesting, while you were saying that, what came to my mind was going back to structures that people have said this is what life looks like, right? And so you have stages of development, and there's a stage where for some individuals it seems like they go through a midlife crisis. Well, what is that midlife crisis? That stage when many individuals look back and they say, oh, I wasted my life doing things this way. So why, like you said, why does it have to take going through all of those processes and doing things based on what other people said you should do, only to get into your 60s and 70s and say, oh, I wish I had done things this way.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's happening during many individuals' awakening. They're having their midlife crisis in their 20s and their 30s. And they're like, no, something doesn't add up, and I am not going to keep doing things in this way.
Yeah.
It's like you, I don't have any children right now. But for me, it was the whole idea of the next thing to do is my PhD. And I've resisted that for years. Like, why do I need to do a PhD? I feel like it's just another label. It's not going to prove that I am more competent in any particular area apart from having the labels, because I know a lot of people walking around with that label that can't offer you anything.
Right.
And I thought, why not develop in direct skills in particular areas that I am passionate about? Okay. And what I'm realizing is that many of the individuals right now who are thriving, it's not because they have sought to meet those external stipulations that say you have to have XYZ, you have to, you know. And I went through that phase where I was like, do I just go through that next phase? And, you know, and I did. I applied to do my PhD. I applied to 3 schools. And I personally think that it's because of the conflict, the internal conflict that I had. There was absolutely no reason for one of these programs why I did not get in, you know. But I feel like internally, there was that contrast that I was experiencing where I kept asking myself, is this really what I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Or is this just what I feel I'm supposed to do because it's the next step? You know?
Right.
Then when you throw that out and you start asking yourself, okay, why am I here? Why am I doing this? What's the purpose behind this? The moment you get to the point where you realize that I'm doing this to satisfy everybody else, and you realize you've been living life for other people, you get to that point when you're like, oh, heck no, there's more to life than this. This is exactly what I said. There has to be more to life than this. Living for other people, living so that people can say, oh yeah, she did something with herself. Who cares?
Right.
You know, who cares at the end of the day? And again, those questions are actually necessary. If there's anybody listening to this right now, you're not going crazy. It's necessary.
Yes.
You know what? You may really get back to the point where you decide, okay, I really want to do this, but now it's coming from a different place.
Yes.
So you're guided differently. Okay, you're led to do things when you get to the point where you start asking yourself, why am I here? What do I enjoy doing? What is the reason behind these actions that I have chosen? Mm-hmm. These questions lead you to really go inward and search yourselves. And it may bring up some of your trauma, okay? But you do get to the point where, like everybody else, you realize that at my core, I desire to be happy. I desire to be fulfilled. I desire to feel connected to others. And that connection is going to come, but it's going to come from a different place. Not from trying to prove your worth, because that's what it is for many individuals who seek to do the normal thing, okay? It's, okay, now I have achieved this. Like me now, you know, I've arrived now, you know, do I fit in now, you know? But now it's from a place of, no, my contribution to the world is this. This is who I am showing up as into the world. You know, not to prove a point, because there's nothing that needs to be proven. I am who I am, and where I am is okay, right? But now I feel a sense of connectedness. I feel a sense of belonging because I'm connected to who I am. I show up differently in the world. And the things that people do to be accepted, now I offer that as an extension of who I am.
Yeah, we were talking through, I made choices in order to get acceptance from others, most often family, but it projects out. I think about me as a want to fit in people pleaser, and rooted in that deep loneliness, that that provides the contrast for you're not in alignment with your inner self. Okay. So contrast is key. That brings the awareness, right? The contrast, when you're not aware of it, is just, it's hard, and there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of, they didn't invite me to the party, or they had this going on and they did that. Or the group was talking and they didn't talk to me when I said something, you know, and so you go inside and you go, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. They don't like me. They don't want me. There's, you know, whatever the case may be. That, as I look back now, provided that, that sort of ding on the head, if you will, the contrast of that is not you in alignment with yourself.
Right.
In alignment with higher self, the one that knows you best and loves you most. And when you get to the point of alignment with your higher self, you can stand in the middle of that group and go, I don't want to be part of this conversation. I'm going to move over to this one. And it's perfectly okay. And there is no strife with it. There's no frustration. And that is like that. It's the process. Because to your point, you feel part of all of it. It's naturally part of it, all of it. And if you don't feel part of all of it, you go, I'm going to bring, I'm going to find other people, do a new hobby. I'm going to go out and learn something, whatever the case may be. And to the schooling expectation, the PhD question, book learning does not translate to actual knowledge and wisdom. It doesn't. I've never seen that. I don't know how many times there was a discussion I went to Central Michigan University, and there was a discussion in my CMU group on Facebook, and they're like, so how many people are working in the field that you took your degree in?
Exactly.
It was like 80% of people aren't. And I made the point that, yes, I do use management skills every single day because I run 2 businesses, but I don't use any of what I learned in college.
No.
None of it.
No.
So I spend, my family spent $50,000, and that was a long time ago. It's now probably doubled, to put a piece of paper on the wall that got me in the door, right? It got me in the door, but it was my performance kept me there. It was not that piece of paper that kept me.
And I like that you use the word performance, because many times that's what it is. You perform. You play this role that's going to keep you where you're at, and that's what we're taught to do. That's literally what we're taught to do, to be. Fit in is so minuscule to what I really want to express.
Yes.
Because it's more than just fitting in. It's like we're playing this role, we're acting on stage, and we're choosing to act a part that we don't even want to act in the process.
Yeah.
I've found that and for what that does to many individuals, you speak about the contrast. What I discovered is that the only, we all want to be accepted by somebody, right? It's a human desire. We want to feel connected. And in life, many individuals go through life seeking validation through external means. Okay, you acquire a degree, you acquire a home, so now you're at that stage where, you have arrived. What I have discovered is that you are truly, the only time you know that you are truly connected and accepted is when you step out into the world as, this is who I truly am for me. That is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. When you know that people see you, you're not coming into the world looking to be seen, but you can feel that people see you for who you truly are, because you see yourself. You're connected to who you truly are. And who you're accepted as has nothing to do with what I've done. It has nothing to do with what I've acquired, but people really just see the beauty in you from the inside out. That only happens when you've gone through those processes, when you've really connected with who I truly am. The very same things that people are looking for, it happens so naturally.
It does.
Yeah.
The one thing that I was to tie into the early part of your commentary is it's not accidental that they call television programming.
Yeah.
And I want to bring this up as a part of the awakening journey, or the getting to know your inner self journey, is you have to disconnect from the programming, and television is a big part of programming.
Yes.
So you have to start measuring, you have to stop measuring yourself against the people that you see on TV or on the covers of magazines, or, you know, who's the celebrity of the week, etc. You have to stop measuring yourself to that individual. There's no measurement that satisfies, right? Exactly. And in fact, what's the comparison is the stealer of joy. Exactly. And that's so true, right? So you are perfectly, wonderfully made exactly as you are meant to be. And your status right now is as a function of subconscious decision making. Like you haven't really consciously made most of your decisions. You ate what you ate because somebody told you that's what you're supposed to eat. You went to this, you know, you did this because somebody told you to do it. You bought, you know, whatever the case may be. And when you get to the point of disconnecting yourself from the programming and the expectations that are built into that programming, just expectations, and then set an expectation.
Right.
And then that is a place where, you know, a much better, happier, and you know, when you give yourself grace within those expectations, because I was thinking about it, I don't set my goals beyond about 2 weeks anymore. And part of that is that so much can change in 2 weeks. The earth, the planet's energy is moving really rapidly. And 2 weeks from now, I might find that there is a new opportunity that is really amazing and exciting. And I don't want my expectation of, I set a goal for 6 months and I'm not going to meet it if I go in that direction. Because if my higher self and my spirit guides are going, hey, look over there. This is super cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to help a lot of people. Go that way. I don't want to be limited by it.
Exactly. Now, do I have intentions? I do. You know, I might say, okay, in the next 5 years, I would like to see X, Y, Z, right? But like you, I remember last year around this time, there was certain goals. Goals is a strong word. Plans. There were certain plans put in place, and there was something in me that kept saying, don't buy that ticket, don't do this. And I still went along with it. I'm not disappointed because I know I received that thought, you know, and I'm thinking now, that's the reason that I know that what's going on now is necessary. It's all part of the process. I can see that the earth needed this time, and I'm fine with that. And because I want to be in constant flow, as my name suggests, because I want to be in constant flow with life, and, you know, in constant flow with the stream of thought that I get from my source. Many times, again, this is one of the things that we're told to do, you know, make plans and work hard to make them happen. And in this moment, you may be led to do something that feeds your soul, that may be feeding the soul of others, but we get in our own way because I set this out and I have to accomplish it, because if I don't accomplish it, it says something about me in the process. Okay. Right. It says we judge ourselves. Oh, I didn't accomplish this. And so that must mean that I am lazy. And that must mean that, you know, I'm a procrastinator. And that must mean, no, sometimes it's just your source leading you in a different direction. And so there has to be a balance that you strike in learning, okay, how do I create balance? I was speaking to someone yesterday and I opened my mouth to say structure. Words, I find myself now naturally releasing words that create resistance within me. And structure is one of those words. And for many individuals, they may think, oh, you just, you know, you just don't like to follow rules. Maybe that's what it is. But I prefer to say create balance as opposed to creating structure. Yeah. You know, so there's a difference between creating balance and being so present in every moment that even though you've laid out a plan for the day, for the week, or whatever it is, that you can feel at peace saying, no, this is how I'm going to do things now, because this is what I feel guided to do. You know, yes. And your spirit is not going to lead you to do things that make you imbalanced or make you irresponsible or unproductive. You know, everything always falls into place. Everything always comes together.
Yes.
You know, but you have to be at peace with doing things differently than what people expect you to do.
Yes.
You have to be at peace with that first. The minute you start thinking, oh, what are people gonna say? What what if this were to happen? Then you're not at one with who you truly are. Because
Yes.
your inner being leads you to go through that path that aligns with who you are at the end of the day.
Yes. Yeah, I think flow is probably the word that makes the most sense in the context of if you want to establish a long-term objective. I feel like flow is a great long-term objective, because flow by definition means if I'm going along in one direction and I feel very strongly I need to turn left, I turn left. You know, water doesn't question when it runs into a rock, it just goes around it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Why are you there? You're not supposed to be there. You're supposed to be over there. Why did I run into that rock? It really gave me a lot of, it doesn't question all of that. Water just goes, I'm gonna go around it. So, and there's no strife and no angst. And, you know, we all say it's so hard and I got to work for it, whatever. And it doesn't have to be hard.
No, it
if you
doesn't.
define
We were told that it
Yes.
has to be. We were taught that it has to be. And that's the sad thing. And then when things come easy to people, they question it because it's like, I didn't work hard enough for it. You speak about water, it just flows. It just goes where it's supposed to go, and it merges with where it needs to merge. I've been thinking that about 14 years ago, I was led to memorize or to learn Matthew chapter 6 that talks about looking at the birds of the field and looking at the trees and just paying attention to nature. And it hit me this weekend. It's taken me almost these many years to really pay attention to nature and see how things just go with the flow and fall in place. Nobody has to tell the plant it's time to bring forth fruit. It does so at the right time. Everything happens at the right time. And it may seem sometimes that things may take a long time to come to fruition, but it happens at the right time. The only species that I have found in nature that goes against the natural occurrence of things are human beings. And that happens because we have chosen to line up with external sources and what they've dictated or declared that we are supposed to be doing, as opposed to following nature and going with that flow of nature. All right. And if we are to choose to do so, guess what? The majority of individuals will think you're crazy. The majority of individuals are going to say you're doing things the wrong way because it doesn't go with what everybody else is doing. But if we were to live our lives in flow, I do believe that things would come to us easily. You know, I do believe that the very things that we desire, okay, and for me, a desire is an indication that it's done. You have a desire, it's done. The things you want, it's already there in the spiritual realm, just waiting for you to line up with it. And those things are sure to happen. And even as I speak to you, there are times when I have to remind myself. I like the word remind. It's like you're bringing everything together in your mind. You know, you remind yourself that this is who I am. I did not come into this world to struggle. You know, that's what I may have been taught. That's what may have been modeled to me. But how did it satisfy everybody else before me? So why would I want to be insane and do things the same way everybody else has been doing it? For who? You know, for who? It's just one of those things that you look at life and you ask it, why are we doing this to ourselves?
Yeah.
Why? It's not
Right.
satisfying. It's really
Exactly.
not satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah. And the questioning piece of it brings up the areas of dissatisfaction in order to make us aware of that. Not, again, to your point earlier, don't get stuck there. Become aware of it, and then make a decision, and kind of check in with your higher self. Go, what do I really want? And you can seek expertise, but don't give yourself to those experts. Don't give yourself to your doctor or to the health department or to the teacher at the school, or don't give yourself wholly. And you always have to go check in and go, I don't know that I agree with that. Let me go find some more information and decide where I stand on that position.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Stop looking to outside authorities for all of your knowledge and decision making, because it's probably, it may not be in alignment with you.
I want to add to what you just said.
Yeah.
With that, to accept that, going with the flow, with that, to accept that whatever is coming to your experience in the moment is present for a reason. And to discover, okay, again, I was opening my mouth to say something and I had to even retract. I was going to say, and to try and discover the reason. We don't even have to try and discover, it's going to come to you. You're going to if you can go with the flow and accept that this is what's coming to me at this point, this is where I am is okay, and the experiences that, if where I am is okay, then the experiences that come have to be okay. And instead of fighting against them, open myself to receive, what am I being taught in this moment? What is coming to me at this time, and what's the reason for this, right? And when we can be open, then life becomes this experience of joy and learning and bliss, and every moment is an awesome discovery. And even when there's a dip in that discovery, even when there's a dip in the experience that's not too pleasant, it doesn't take but a few days and you're like, I get it. I get it. And it's fun, and you bounce right back, and even on a higher plane than where you were the last time. It's just this awesome discovery. You deal with things as they come in the moment, and you move on.
And I want to put a flag up to the control freaks who are listening to this, because I was there. Rewind this again and listen to that piece of it. Listen to it again, because you're going to want to reinforce that over and over and over and over again. The more you're in control of something, you are resisting its opportunity. You might think that this, I'm going to use money as an example, because money is just a huge, it's a thing. Money is energy. It's just energy. Money, if you think about the language of banking, it's all about flow. It's banks, it's cash flow, it's those kinds of things. So we've got to get the femininity back into it. And by definition, femininity is flow. It's a piece of it. So to the control freaks out there, you're going to need to repeat this over and over and over again. I'm going to allow this to flow as it's meant to be, because I promise you, if you let that happen, it's going to be far better than you could ever imagine. If you think, I'm going to put this program out and it's going to say, I'm going to make $5,000 on it, and that's, you have now closed the gates on that opportunity.
Yes.
If you put this program out there and I want it to benefit as many people as it can possibly help, you now have opened the floodgates.
Yes. Right? Exactly. Exactly.
And when you're living in that higher, I don't mean it to be judgmental, but when you're living in that space of alignment and flow, you start to go, well, that didn't happen how I thought it was going to happen, but I'm guessing it's getting better. I'm guessing it's getting better. Let it go.
Yeah. And it always happens better than you expected.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't see that coming. I mean, I knew I wanted this, but I didn't know it was going to come like that. It's just fun. It's this awesome discovery. You feel like you're always in a constant childlike state where you're surprised and delighted almost constantly.
Yeah.
You know,
And
and
it's
it's
fun.
fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
You know, one of my daily affirmation mantras, if you will, one of the words is God's infinite abundance flows down on me like a waterfall, right? And it can come in strange ways. Like we got a whole hog and we put it in our freezer. That was an amazing gift, right? That is a sign of abundance. I needed flowers for the front of our house because it's a new house that has no landscaping. I put a post out on Facebook. I've had more flowers than I can plant. And I'm filling it up with these beautiful flowers, and I'm not spending a dime. So it's complete, because people are like, I needed to split that anyway, so let me gift you with that. And that is amazing, awesome. And I love that. And just flowing, and my flower bed is coming along beautifully. And I've spent like $20. So it's good.
And it's interesting too that you mentioned that, because like I said, many times it comes in ways that you do not expect it. But when you affirm that this is who you are, you know, you affirm that you, not only that you receive abundance, but you are abundance, okay? It starts coming in so many different forms, you know? And you know what? It defies all the rules that says to get this, I have to do it that way. Because you open the doors for it to come in whatever means it chooses to, and constantly surprise you and delight you.
And the concept of I have to do it that way is within your narrow paradigm and within your narrow level of education and experience. Exactly. When there could be other people who know 1,000 different pieces of it, and if you let the universe, God, divinity, whatever your labeling is, if you let that happen, those 1,000 people can contribute to it, and what you would have created is this big, what they're going to create is this big, or it's this big.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's an infinite universe of unbelievable possibility.
It is. It really is. And absolutely. that to me, and then going back to what you started in terms of, what was that question? I have lost my way. Have you really lost your way, or are you really coming to alignment with who you really are?
Yes.
Because you discover this is fun. This is exciting. This is joyful. This is peaceful. This is loving. What are we living life for if not for those things?
Absolutely.
Right? What are we living life for if at the end of the day, I've struggled to get this, I've worked hard to get that, and I've taken years from my life just beating myself over to get all of these things, thinking that when I get them, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be peaceful, I'm going to be joyful, I will be able to have fun. All right, I've wasted my life doing these things thinking that when I get them, then I can have fun, instead of choosing to do so now. The very things that we think we're going to get, when we achieve those things, all our experiences in life were to point us to those things in the first place. We can experience fun now before receiving the things that we're looking to receive. We can experience love and bliss now before getting the evidence of those things that we think is going to bring those qualities and those emotions to us. And that, to me, is the purpose of this life at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. I agree with you. I think fun allows for better, faster flow.
Oh, yeah.
Fun.
Yes.
Play and have fun and play with your responses to life. If you drop something and break it, you go, well, I don't know. Apparently I didn't need that. You know what I mean? Like, have some fun with it. Mm-hmm. You know, if your kids do something silly and you go, well, apparently that wasn't supposed to be the way it is. So we just, no big deal. No big deal. Yeah.
Everything becomes your own comedy.
It does.
I can't tell the amount of times I've laughed at my own responses when I'm going through my little meltdowns, and I turn back and I thought, oh, that was funny. Especially when 2 days after you bounce back, you're like, what was going on over there, Jerry? Like, when you can laugh at
Right?
your
What was
own
I mad about
music.
again?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Everything just becomes this fun playground. Life is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be beautiful. Every experience now that I have, every encounter with an individual, when I'm able to appreciate, wow, look at how easy this happened. Look at how we cross paths with each other, and look at how this is fulfilling not a need, but a desire in my experience. And you realize I couldn't make this happen. This happened so naturally, and that's how everything in life is supposed to happen. It just makes life worth living. It makes life this experience that you can't wait to see what the next scene is going to be. You don't wake up. I realized that this morning I declared, I fell asleep. So this is something, as I'm saying this, I'm gonna say, when you can go to bed and go through your day and fall asleep with good thoughts, wherever you fall asleep, that's what you're gonna get up with the next day. So last night I had an awesome conversation with a friend, and we spoke for over an hour, and I said, wow, this conversation was just so satisfying. It felt so good. And she said, okay, it's time to go to bed now. And we fell asleep and we left it there. And before I was aware that I was awake this morning, I found myself declaring, this is going to be an awesome day. This is going to be an exciting day. It's going to be great. And guess what? I woke up with, shortly after that, receiving a phone call. And the phone call was probably not the most pleasant news, but guess what? It's still going to be an awesome day because I declared it, and it hasn't changed how I feel about the day. That's what life is supposed to be. When you can bring yourself to that point without needing external factors to determine that for you, it's beautiful.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh. I think that's an amazing place to close today's discussion. Like, life is amazing. Have fun. Let it flow. So thank you, Jerry Lynn. Do some dancing today. Turn music up loud. Have some fun. Michael Franti. Mike, great for that kind of thing. Very fun, happy music. So good. Awesome. Well, thank you again, and look forward to our next talk.
Yes. Great.
All right. Good.